What's up, America and the rest of the world? I'm Andrew Coppins, host of Critical Thinking every Saturday, 5 p.m. on Mojo 50 Radio, and it's time for some food for thought. Coronavirus, COVID-19, Wuhan coronavirus, it's all anybody can talk about, and today's food for thought is no different. But it's time to ask some different questions from those normal media talking points as we look at this virus that's affecting American life like never before. Today's question: if it's okay to deregulate the FDA and CDC for coronavirus, why is it not okay to do it for everything else? While we're all on a virtual lockdown, social distancing, or whatever you want to call it, we are also seeing one of the most libertarian moments of modern American history. Yes, I'm talking about the reaction of our federal government to the coronavirus. Last Friday, we saw President Donald Trump standing outside the White House with executives from companies like Quest Diagnostics, Target, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, just to name a few, all to announce measures to increase testing availability, the speed of the results, and the speed of vaccine delivery too. In order to do this, the Trump administration announced loosening up of regulations from the FDA and CDC, especially in the testing area, where previously only the CDC was in charge of providing and doing the testing of those kits. Who would have thunk leaving manufacturing and delivery of nationwide testing kits to one government agency wouldn't be the smartest thing to do in the face of a pandemic? Yet, that is the very problem that exists. The response of Trump and his administration was to begin to unleash more of the private ingenuity and manufacturing power to get out more kits, better education as well, and then coordination to allow public and private sectors to work more closely together to respond to this growing issue. Now, we're also being told that testing can be done very soon in a drive-up manner at many private businesses like Target, Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens, to name but a few. Great, that is good news now. But the flu and other viruses and diseases have the ability to overwhelm the system too. Why is this only applying to this situation? Shouldn't we also be looking at these types of measures for regular drugs and regular diseases? I mean, personally, I'm on a journey with my rheumatologist to get my recently diagnosed arthritis under control. And there is a massive nationwide shortage of the medication that I need. And as I understand it, it has to do with the regulatory crap that's slowing down the release and production of this medication on a level that people like myself need. I mean, I have to search pharmacy by pharmacy in the hopes that I get my medication filled. That's not a woe is me story. It's just an example of what's happening with regular medications, let alone providing for new outbreaks, diseases, or whatever's being discovered by medical professionals and infectious disease experts. But let's get back to COVID-19. What did the FDA and CDC do to more quickly respond to this issue? We can go to the New York Times for the details, hardly some right-wing media outlet. The New York Times tells us the following: the FDA turned to Roche, a Swiss healthcare giant, to speed the testing effort, giving the global drug manufacturer emergency permission to sell to labs the first commercially available approved test for the coronavirus in the United States. The emergency approval of the Roche test could significantly expand the nation's capacity for testing. It means that labs that already have the company's high-capacity testing equipment, which are available in more than 110 labs in the United States, as well as around the world, will quickly be able to test for the virus. Roche said its commercial test will provide results in 3.5 hours. One of its systems, the Cobas 8800 system, would be able to test 4,100 samples in 24 hours. Another, the Cobas 6800 system, could run some 1,400 tests in 24 hours. A Roche spokesman said some labs could begin testing as early as Saturday, with more getting started next week, and that was on Friday. Dr. Birx said that the new capacity of the Roche test would help big lab companies like LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics process the tests that would be used in the drive-thru sites. The Roche test, which is automated, cuts out a lot of the manual process that were happening that were delaying the test results, she said. Dr. Bala N. Hoda, an associate chief medical officer at Rush University in Chicago, who is overseeing the hospital system's response to coronavirus, praised the moves. He said the country's capacity to test is now so limited that only patients who meet narrow criteria can be tested. But as infections spread through communities, broader testing is needed. In other words, the government turned to private business to solve a problem that existed because the government couldn't meet demand or production of quality testing, nor could those tests turn around fast enough to be effective for the patient, creating a virtual bottleneck at hospitals and urgent care clinics the country over. The Trump administration basically just said, government, Get the hell out of the way, and let's let those who can get the job done, be it private or public, get the job done on behalf of a public that's freaking the ever-loving hell out. I love it. Solving the problem, not some public-private pissing contest or bureaucratic red tape taking precedence. But why should this attitude and its resulting deregulation only apply to coronavirus? If it's good for a new virus outbreak, shouldn't it be good for cancer patients, HIV patients, or even those of us suffering from simple inflammatory diseases? The government will tell us, well, we have to have the safety of the people in mind, and we have to be sure of what is coming to market actually does what it says it will. Well, if that is true and the reason for the regulations, why is safety being compromised for this pandemic? After all, you're telling us that these regulations exist for the safety. How dare you put us at greater risk just for a quick response to this new virus? Either that or your reasoning for not being agile or allowing new drugs and devices to come to market as fast as they can safely be proven to work is complete bullcrap. Why should it take 3 to 5 years for drugs to come to market? Why shouldn't companies be able to get things to market as quickly as they can proven to be safe? If it takes 3 months, 3 days, 12 hours, or 3 years to be proven safe and effective as its stated goal, what's the difference? We should be treating each drug, device, or whatever comes down the pipeline differently. Some of these things can be quickly known. Others might indeed take longer periods to know full effects. But let's let the idea be the guide, not some arbitrarily picked time frame across the board. Why can't we let that happen all the way around instead of via emergency need? I mean, I know part of the answer is something that the right won't largely like to hear. Big Pharma has the government wrapped around their fingers, virtually rigging the game via patents and red tape that make it nearly impossible for anybody without deep pockets to make a new drug or device. For me, if there's one lesson that comes from all of this, re the government, it's that when they get out of the way, we see nearly instant results via the private market. Now, for those who want to point to high drug prices as proof that private business wouldn't be the answer here, I submit, does this system that I've been describing sound like a true and open private marketplace to you? Or does it sound much like a government-run operation that causes artificial and unnecessary price inflation? Do you really think that more competition would increase the price of goods and services? If so, I submit to you the price of your last TV versus 5 or 10 years ago. I submit to you the price of a lot of goods when the market opens up versus when it's closed. But back to the topic at hand. FDA and CDC regulations that suddenly get to go by the wayside just for coronavirus, but not the rest of the market? I have yet to hear one good reason why these emergency changes to regulation couldn't be done for nearly every drug and device out there. The government is telling us this stuff will be safe and without consequences in some 12 to 18 months now. Why? Why is it more safe in that time frame? Because a pandemic is upon us? Well, tell that to the cancer patient waiting on that new drug to cure or change their life trajectory. Tell that to the person who died while the company knew that the drug or device that they were creating would save lives but had to wait out this required arbitrary time frame. In fact, even the flexible version of the FDA today tells us that the priority review process aims to take 6 months instead of the regular 10 months. You see, even then, there's this arbitrary timeline in place. It's just ridiculous. Either this new deregulation is dangerous because the FDA says they can't go to market without this long process, or that process is complete and total crap, and it's actually dependent on the drug or device as to when this should happen. My hope is that maybe, just maybe, these rules will stay relaxed to allow us to be better prepared for future new viruses, diseases, and all the stuff that's inevitably to come our way. Then again, we all thought that we got the memo after the H1N1 outbreak in 2009, and yet here we are with hospitals unprepared, understaffed, without the right equipment to deal with another outbreak. Perhaps changing the bureaucratic nature of the FDA and the CDC forever will do the trick this time around. What say you? Leave a comment below here on YouTube or follow on social media at The Coppins Show. I'm Andrew Coppins, and I'll see you on Saturday, 5 p.m. Central Time for Critical Thinking on Mojo 50 Radio, as well as the Mojo 50 Facebook page. Until then, be smart, be safe, and Matthew 5:47.